President Trump just did something Washington hoped he would never do again. He went back to 2020. He started resharing the Fulton County surveillance footage of Ruby Freeman and Shaye. His message was 4 words that terrified the establishment. Fraud vitiates everything. That is a legal principle. It means if the process was corrupted, the outcome is void. And tonight, with whistleblowers surfacing, evidence piling up, and a statute of limitations about to expire, the fight over 2020 is not over. It is only just reigniting. Now here's what's at stake. See, this is not about relitigating the past. It's about whether accountability ever comes. A United States Postal Service whistleblower has described an alleged operation to backdate mail-in ballots in Michigan after Election Day. The claims trace back to Traverse City, where an insider reportedly told investigators that postal procedures were violated under pressure. In Nevada, Senator Lankford documented over 42,000 people who allegedly voted more than once, over 1,500 dead voters, and over 19,000 who didn't even live in the state. In Detroit, footage and testimony keep surfacing. And now a whistleblower claims the FBI asked intelligence agencies to destroy evidence of Chinese election interference. Piece by piece, the narrative that there was nothing to see is fracturing. And the media that told you to stop asking questions may have been part of the cover. Now, as this reckoning unfolds, one thing is clear. You cannot depend on the system to protect you. My Patriot Supply is running their Buy One, Gift Two Christmas special right now. When you buy 1 emergency food kit, you get 2 more absolutely free. A 4-week supply for yourself, plus 2 one-week kits to give away as New Year's gifts. See, these days, it just makes sense to have emergency food stored away. When institutions fail and trust collapses, your family still needs security. And with this deal, you're not just getting prepared, you're giving meaningful gifts to friends or family. And they're free. So get prepared before the next crisis hits and head to preparewithgary.com. This holiday offer will not last. Preparewithgary.com. And now, did you know January 6th is back in the headlines? The man who accused of planting the pipe bombs near party headquarters has now officially confessed. Court filings say he was driven by contempt for the entire political system, not a plot to help one side. Now here's why the detail matters, because it undercuts years of narrative. Meanwhile, the statute of limitations on the January 6th committee's actions expires in just days. Critics are warning that if charges are not filed against committee members for destroying evidence, withholding exculpatory material, and conducting what many call a political persecution, accountability will never come. Lara Logan called them the real insurrectionists, and the clock is running out. Lara Logan and more. President Trump posting over the weekend, video after video, reigniting the conversation in this entire discussion. Looking for the Lara Logan clip for you right now. I know it must be here. Well, here. I mean, this is video. You guys have seen this. See, this was verboten. You could not share this video. You could not talk about this video. Video of ballots being dumped in the middle of the night. Security footage. You're still interested in fraud? Proof of the fraud of the 2020 election in Detroit, Michigan. Proof of what happened. This is what the Democrats deny happening. Pallets of votes being ushered in. Here it is. You know who else was in on the overthrow of 2020? 60 Minutes, the media. Real Robert says, now arrest this bitch. Arrest them all for the crimes of fraud, election interference, racketeering, campaign finance violations, and conspiracy for the overthrow of the United States government on November 3rd, 2020. Remember this?
You know, this is 60 Minutes. And we can't put on things we can't verify.
You won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
We can't put on things we can't verify.
Leslie.
You know what you told me a long time ago when I asked why you keep saying fake with the media?
Yeah.
You said to me, I say that because I need to discredit you so that when you say negative things about me, no one will believe you.
I don't have to discredit you.
But that's what you told me.
You've discredited yourself.
You told me that.
Leslie, you've discredited yourself. When you say that you're not going to cover Biden. You're going to ask him what flavor ice cream he has, okay?
That's not
Instead
easy.
of why did Hunter get $3.5 million from Moscow? Instead of why is an energy company paying your son $183,000 a month or whatever they're paying him, and he has no experience in energy. You know, you discredit yourself. I don't have to discredit you.
So this story about Hunter and his laptop, some repair shop found it. The source is Steve Bannon and Rudy Giuliani.
I don't know anything about that. I just know it's a laptop, and they haven't.
And you're making this one of the hottest, most important issues in the rallies.
It's a very important issue to find out whether or not a man's corrupt who's running for president, who's accepted money from China and from Ukraine and from Russia.
All these
Yeah, I think
things
that's
have
an
been
important issue.
investigated and
It's
discredited.
incredible the way you can try and say this and sit there and look me in the eye and say it.
A Republican
He accepted money,
committee-
his family, from Russia, from Ukraine, from China, and from other places.
and a
His
Republican-
brother, who didn't have experience.
We don't need to rehash all that. You guys all know the cover-ups there. This man, John Strand, sentenced to 3 years in prison for peacefully protesting election fraud. He says, I could have taken a plea, I could have compromised, I could have given up, but I didn't because the truth matters.
26 is, yes, well, it was grossly wrong. The Supreme Court, I was vindicated by the Supreme Court ruling in the Fisher case. And we knew this, of course, from the beginning. They call it obstruction of justice or obstruction of an official proceeding. But I was charged specifically with 18 U.S. Code 1512C2. The title of 1512, the specific statute that I was charged with, is tampering with a witness, victim, or informant. Check that again. Tampering with a witness, victim, or informant. How does that apply to me being present at a political protest? Obviously, it does not apply whatsoever. So not only was I not guilty of breaking any laws, but the 20-year felony they used to destroy my life was wildly ungermane, disconnected, and weaponized and misused in a grossly dishonest and malicious way to destroy our lives, to demonize the Trump supporters and the MAGA movement, and to really create this incredible fracture in our nation. My book is called Patriot Plea, The J6 Journey of a Political Prisoner in the Divided States of America. And Bill, we're at a really critical point. I keep telling people that 2026 is our generation's 1776.
Yeah,
what do I mean
absolutely.
by that? Well, we all know that this is a very important moment, but it's more than just important. I really think it's historic and it's existential. Like you said, President Trump is a fighter. He's outside of the system trying to dismantle the deep state, but he can't do it alone. No one man can. Our system is designed to decentralize power. That's the beauty of it, to prevent tyranny. So the most amount of power, the most important branch of government is Article 1, the first article established in our U.S. Constitution, and that's Congress. But that's 435 individuals. So we need a higher percentage, at least, of congressmen who are strong, who are moral, ethical, who are independent, and who are brave and courageous and willing to do what's right and what is necessary. And so few people are willing to do that these days. I've proven that I'll do it. I will definitely do it again. And that is my pledge and my promise to the American people.
Folks, this is why I'm endorsing John Strand. I mean, listen to the words coming out of this man's mouth. I mean, this is exactly what we need in our Congress. Okay.
That guy's got my vote. Got my vote for sure. The 2020 election is not over. President Trump went on one of his Truth Social posting marathons, started sharing infamous videos of Ruby Freeman and her daughter Shaye Moss clearly cheating in Fulton County, Georgia, says Real AF Patriot.
2020 election. A poll worker named Ruby Freeman running the same stack of ballots through the counting machines multiple times. Ironically, Ruby Freeman was later given the Presidential Citizens Medal by Joe Biden for her work during the 2020 election. A poll worker named Ruby Freeman.
Ruby Freeman getting an award. UPS whistleblower exposes operation to backdate mail-in ballots in Michigan for the 2020 election. Project Veritas spoke to an insider from the Barlow branch of the Traverse City Post Office who had serious allegations on voter fraud allegations. Check this out.
outgoing mail in general.
Tell us where you work.
I work in the Traverse City Post Office, more specifically the Barlow branch.
Your boss told you and your colleagues something that shocked you this morning. What was it?
We were issued a directive this morning to collect any ballots we find in mailboxes, collection boxes, just outgoing mail in general, separate them at the end of the day so that they could hand stamp them with the previous day's date. Today is November 4th, for clarification.
Who is your boss, and what is his title?
Jonathan would be a direct supervisor, yes. As of right now, he is the opening supervisor for the Barlow branch post office. So and this is anecdotal, carrier down in another office said they watched the postmaster doing it. If it were just a typical day, it would be clerks doing it up at the distribution center.
So 8 p.m. election day, November 3rd, the Court of Appeals ruled ballots have to be received by that time. And what were you told?
To separate them today so they could mark them with yesterday's date and send them through the express system to wherever they needed to go.
This appears to be an attempt to circumvent Michigan law and allow late votes. And you said there was a hamper where letter carriers were supposed to leave their ballots. Where are the ballots now?
They were putting them into express bags to go to the distribution center. In regards to a hamper, there was a standard hamper that all letter mail is supposed to go to, and they had a tub next to it that we were supposed to put any ballots collected today into. Yes.
What made you come forward?
That's sketchy. I don't like sketchy. It screams corruption. Also, knowing the post office's leanings politically, it didn't seem quite right.
What is your message to other postal workers who see things like this?
Report it. How are we supposed to have any integrity in this country if we are just going to let things slide based on a scaling issue?
Are you afraid of retaliation against you?
I've had whistleblower policies backfire on me in the past, so yes.
We'll have to reach out to Jonathan Clark for comment. Hey, is this Jonathan?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a reporter with Project Veritas, James O'Keefe here, and I have information that you guys have been stamping ballots with the previous date, November 3rd. He just hung up the phone on me. He just hung up the phone on me. Tell us where you work.
I work in the Traverse City Post Office, more specifically the Barlow branch.
Your boss told you and your colleagues something that shocked you this morning. What was it?
Amazing. Amazing that this is still happening. FBI asked intelligence agencies to destroy intel on alleged China plot to aid Biden in the 2020 election. Another layer of election fraud exposed. I remember hearing about this, that they were shipping in ballots from China. The ballots were being printed in China, shipped in on jets, sent to, remember there was a jet we were chasing in Arizona in the middle of the night that supposedly had offloaded an entire pallets of ballots. Let's listen to how John Solomon breaks this down.
The China 2020 FBI intel memo warning that China might have been sending fake driver's licenses in to create fake mail-in ballots to help Joe Biden win. There's a busting headline in here. When the FBI called this back, so they have this intel, it's corroborated by licenses that are intercepted by Customs and Border Protection in Chicago, but they call it back anyways and decide we're just not going to investigate this because this would look good for Trump, bad for Biden. They ask all intelligence agencies to destroy the intelligence report that the FBI actually sent them. As a Federal Records Act, you're not supposed to do that. But they wanted it destroyed. Why? Because they probably didn't want it to leak out before the election that China preferred Joe Biden over Donald Trump. 60 Minutes aired a piece with the head of the Homeland Security Cybersecurity Division saying there were no foreign intrusions in the 2020 election. It was a perfectly clean election, he said. I think it was Chris Krebs was his name. We now know that to have been a false proclamation. First, we know a year later in 21, a bunch of Iranians were indicted in Manhattan on charges that they interfered in the election and hacked into a state database to obtain voter IDs and use them in a mal-influence operation against the American election.
Well, we did subpoena Mike Frontera, Dominion's lawyer, but they found a way to not let us have our witnesses. What Jenna did, though, that since at least June, those BIOS passwords, 670 of them, from 63 counties out of the 64 counties in Colorado, have been on the public website for the Secretary of State, which means they were out there for anybody to grab. She should be locked up and they should throw away the key and let me loose.
Yeah, we need a prisoner swap.
Yeah, for sure.
So you think that this election in Colorado was definitely compromised because of the leaked passwords?
Oh, always. In Mesa County, they were finding fraudulent ballots. They were finding the same person was signing the ballot envelopes, and they brushed it off like it was nothing. And as a matter of fact, what Jenna Griswold did with the passwords, she knew while I was going through the trial.
And now she's in jail for exposing the fraud. This is what they do to people who do their job to protect the election. Let's keep going here. Here's Elon Musk, Doge designer, posting this. There's a massive incentive on the left to import voters.
There's a massive. I think when you look at the behavior of organizations or people, you have to say, what is the incentive for these organizations? And frankly, there's a massive incentive on the left to import voters. So if they can't convince their nation to vote for them, they're going to import people from other nations to vote for them. This is a massive factor. And frankly, it's a strategy that will succeed if it is not stopped. Thus far, it is succeeding. And you see strong movements to allow people who are not from Britain to vote in Britain, to allow people who are not from France or elsewhere to vote in those countries, and thus depriving the citizens of their democratic power. It's really a voter importation thing, and if they're allowed to succeed, if this is allowed to continue, they will succeed in importing voters, swaying the elections, and taking your vote away from you. That is 100% what is happening.
Can't argue with that. This is what we've suspected forever. Let's keep going here because we got to get to this. Federal prosecutors told a judge that the man suspected of planting pipe bombs near the Republican National Committee and Democrat National Committee headquarters confessed to the crime in an affidavit that was filed over the weekend. Suspect confesses in the court filing. Here is NTD News Today reporting.
Court papers. And a man charged with planting 2 pipe bombs in Washington, D.C. the night before January 6th in 2021, he's confessed. That's according to court papers released yesterday. Brian J. Cole Jr. told authorities he felt obligated to, quote, speak up after he started to suspect the 2020 election had been, quote, tampered with. Cole was arrested this month. According to the government's court filing, he initially denied placing the bombs outside the Republican and Democratic Party headquarters ahead of the U.S. Capitol, but then investigators showed him a surveillance image of what they said was him in a hooded sweatshirt carrying a backpack on the route the bomber took. After that, according to the filing, he confessed.
Do you believe it? Or do you believe it was that Capitol police officer that the allegations were made a couple weeks back? Daily Clout pipe bomber. Pipe bomb suspect claims anger at both parties, not a plot. Newly charged suspect says the pipe bombs planted outside both party headquarters were fueled by contempt for the political system itself, not an effort to derail January 6th. Suspect says he acted to speak up for election deniers. What does that even mean? Mother Jones, of course, is the source. J6 pipe bomb suspect confesses, prosecutors say, as defense scrutinizes the case. Something just snapped. January 6 pipe bomb suspect Brian Cole's confession revealed in the court documents. Investigative reporter Steve Baker, that broke the J6 pipe bomb story, is now fighting for his life with acute heart failure. 2 days after telling friends he was worried about his safety. What the hell? The guy that broke the pipe bomb story? The story we presented for you, Baker's testimony, is now fighting for his life? Oh, you got to be kidding me.
and second, and we're running a little bit late here on the program, so I appreciate your patience. If you're watching live and if you're listening in the replay, you didn't know any better, but we're about 20 minutes late. And the fact of the matter is I woke up this morning and had a message from about 4 a.m. local time, my time, that was from my friend out on the East Coast, my buddy Steve Baker, who's been investigating the pipe bomber case and trying to get to the truth about January 6th, which we do believe was a real and it was a real serious conspiracy. And there were a lot of people in play in various different parts of it. And he's now in the hospital. He called me on Friday afternoon. I don't even know if he wants me saying this, but I'm saying it anyway because this is the deal. He called me on Friday. He was worried about his own safety, said he was heading home to his family, and he got some disconcerting news, which I won't be real specific about for now. But Steve knows things. Steve has information that is going to has rattled people that have been trying to keep a story quiet for the last 5 years. The FBI has been complicit in covering it up. The people that are so loved at the top of the FBI are complicit in covering this thing up. They've been aggressive and actively going out there to silence voices, including mine, including Steve Baker's, including Steve Friend's. And I want you to consider something. They hired and fired my friends specifically because we interviewed in a joint interview, the American Radical podcast and the Kyle Seraphin Show joint interview with Joe Hanneman, talking about the inability of the federal government to go and try to pin this all on a training exercise after all these years, and then coming out with a real suspect who's now worked for the second federal agency, now moved into the intelligence community. If you think this stuff is not related, that's on you. That's fine. I don't believe in coincidences. I don't think they happen. Certainly not at this. I don't think my friend calls me up and says that he's concerned about safety and then turns around and a day and a half later, 2 days later, is in the hospital for something that he didn't have a pre-existing condition that has never been diagnosed. It's never come up in his 60s. So pray for Steve Baker, please. And pray for our nation right now. Because while people are getting ready to celebrate second and we're running a little bit late.
Pray for our nation, indeed. We're moving into 2026. Thank God we, though, have somebody at the helm of this nation who is righting the ship. J6er Jessica Watkins catches up with Cowboy Logic. I think it was I was inside for a total of 23 minutes. Her experience is at J6 Capital.
You're an emergency.
I think I was inside for a total of 23 minutes. Right. Not a lot. And in the time I was there, I was rescuing people and stopping vandalism. And
but that's what you do. You're an emergency,
yes,
EMT person. That's why the Oath Keepers always love to have you around.
Well, yeah, and that's the role you played.
Yeah.
That's the role you played, I think, Louisville and also in D.C. And it wasn't a playing role, okay? She wasn't playing that part. That's what she does.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay?
Yeah, I had gone to 14 rallies prior to January 6th. Columbus, Ohio. I ended up rescuing like a dozen Black Lives Matter people that day because the police munitions had injured people who were just standing there with signs or whatever. And I mean, of course I'm going to help. I mean, you got people who are hurt. I went to another rally. It was one of the Stop the Steal rallies in Columbus, Ohio, and rescued a toddler. Because toddler ran out into traffic and there was cars zipping, there's a whole thing. So yeah, this is what we do. We go to rallies and whatever. If it turns into a riot, people we jump in and we help them. I think I was inside for a total of 23 minutes.
So here's the reality Washington does not want you to understand. The same media that buried the Hunter Biden laptop told you 2020 was the most secure election in history. The same institution that spied on a sitting president told you to trust the process. And now, with whistleblowers surfacing, evidence emerging, pipe bomber confession muddying the narrative, they want you to move on. Trump is refusing. Why? Because fraud corrupts everything. It's not a slogan. It's a legal doctrine. And if it applies, nothing that followed was legitimate. So here's why this matters to every American who believes in free and fair elections. You were told to shut up. You were told the evidence didn't exist. You were told that asking questions made you a threat to democracy. But the questions never went away. Whistleblowers kept coming forward, footage kept surfacing, and now a president is openly declaring that fraud corrupts everything. That means that the foundation was rotten, the entire structure is void. The January 6th committee may escape accountability in days if no action is taken. The media may never answer for their role in suppressing evidence, but the American people have not forgotten, and neither has President Trump. You see, this is not about overturning anything. This is about the truth. So do you believe that there should be a full independent investigation in the 2020 election before the statute of limitation expires, or should we just move on? You tell me. Drop your answer in the comments and support independent media at our merch shop. It's linked in the description.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.